Hello, Nightlings. This is the Horror Headquarters podcast that you guys are tuning into right now. Welcome to episode 35. That was a voice crack right there. Yes, and I am stuttering over my words, but you know what? We're gonna go with it. I hope you guys are all having a phenomenal day. I hope you guys enjoyed the eclipse that was yesterday, or a couple days ago when you guys listen to it now, or whenever you guys listen to it. It was April 8th, 2024. I am feeling great from it. I got to reset, just have a good time with family, and enjoy the eclipse because this is the second one that I've seen. But I'll get more into that later in the episode. So today I just want to talk about how eclipses work, like the mythology behind them, the haunted aspects of eclipses, which I think is super, super duper cool. And there's just so many people out there that like really embrace this like haunted aspect, so I just want to talk a little bit about it. Now, obviously there's so much good to it, and I personally only look at it as a good thing because eclipses are known as like time for change and resetting your mindset and meditation and new beginnings and manifesting stuff, which of course I did 100%. But there's just such a rich history in like mythology and history of eclipses and how different cultures viewed it. So I'm going to touch slightly on that aspect as well as my own experience while watching the eclipse because I did see it front row. Cloud was clear. I got some footage for my short film. So, yeah, today's going to be an exciting episode. I hope you guys tune in and you guys will learn a thing or two about eclipses. And, I really hope you guys enjoy this episode overall. I am, again, studying over my words, so we're just going to dive right in. So just a bit of a science lesson before we dive in for anyone out there that does not know what a solar eclipse or an eclipse in general is. Basically, what an eclipse is when the moon passes between the Earth and Sun, blocking all part of the Sun's light from reaching the Earth, and it only happens when the moon is positioned between the Earth and the Sun, and it's in the new moon phase. In terms of solar eclipses, it happens because the orbits of the Earth and the moon intersect at certain points, causing their paths to cross. However, not every new moon results in a solar eclipse because the moon's orbit is tilted relative to the Earth's orbit around the sun. So, eclipses only occur when the alignment of the sun, Earth, and moon is nearly perfect, allowing for the moon to cast its shadow on Earth. Now, for what we just experienced on April 8th, or what we heard about in the news, if you guys weren't in the path of totality or in an area where the eclipse was viewable, a total solar eclipse is when the moon completely covers the sun and it casts a shadow, as I've said before, but observers within the path of totality experience complete darkness during the peak of an eclipse. I wish I was in the complete darkness area. I was 99.4%. That's how much totality of the sun was covered, and it got pitch black. Let me just say that right now. I wish I was in the path of totality. I was going to travel to Toledo to view it, but figure I'd just spend time with family, stay close to home, and also it's Ramadan, so I couldn't go too far without breaking my fast. So I really didn't want to do that. But regardless, it was such a really cool experience. And just waking up that day, I'm just gonna go right into it. Like waking up that day, knowing that an eclipse was happening, I felt such already a shift. Like I already felt such a strong shift in energy. And I just remember getting up feeling super energized, even though I was fasting, didn't have anything in my system. Weather was gorgeous. I ended up getting a sunburn on my face, but it's turned into a tan now. And I remember like right before it started, because it technically starts at like 1:58. That's like when the moon starts going over the sun, and it's like this super cool moment. And you look at it obviously through solar eclipse glasses. I'm hoping none of you guys out there looked at the eclipse directly without protection, because I unfortunately know someone that did that, and they damaged their eyes really bad, and it wasn't good because they thought like it was all us, like to scare us or something, like some kind of government control thing. No, this thing isn't. But back to the story, we had like lawn chairs and everything. We sat down, we slowly saw the moon going over the sun, and every single moment like the sun was getting darker, I'm like looking around and like everything was like fading, and like the sounds of animals like and birds and squirrels and everything, it got so quiet. It got so quiet to the point where like I was nearly about to freak out because I'm like, why is it dead silent outside right now? Like, this is creepy. It just really was like a suspension in time. It felt like a lot like a dream, like that people have when they wake up and it's just complete dead silence and everything's dark. That's what it felt like. That's like the best way I can explain it. But I have to say the craziest thing happened when the moon was 99.4% covered and the total eclipse started. Now, I just need to start by saying that the time that the eclipse was at its total coverage in our area, it happened at a really creepy time. A time known in horror films, and I'm not making this up. 3:13 p.m. 3:13 p.m. 13's extremely lucky, combined with another 3. 3 knocks is known as an insult to the Holy Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And then, of course, we all know how cursed 13 is, the number. And being that so many places don't even include the number 13 in like elevators or anything like that, you just skip over it. And seeing that that's when the eclipse happened, it was crazy. And it was even crazier when it happened. So it was about 3:11 p.m. and we had like someone over speaker being like, "It's about to be time, get ready, put your glasses on and everything, and look at the sun and hear nature around you go silent." And I'm like, what is she talking about? So then 3:12 hits, and a big whoosh of air I feel go down like in between my arms. I'm like, whoa, what was that? So I put my glasses on, looking up at the moon, have my camera set up and everything. And then she said, "It's almost time." I look at my phone. It hit 3:13. And to me, everything went dead silent. No birds. No life. Not even any of like the people that were seeing it as well were speaking. It like went complete dead silence and it freaked me out. It was so creepy, and I felt all this energy suddenly like traveling through my entire body. It felt like I was being charged up, basically, like I was like a battery basically being charged up, but it felt like I was connected to the sun in a way because it felt like heat and cold at the same time. It was such a weird out of body experience, and I just remember taking a deep breath, closing my eyes, doing a prayer, and then it hits 3:14 and she says, "All right, it's over." And people start clapping. I take off my glasses. I look around. Obviously, I don't look at the sun, but I look around and everything's still a little bit dark. And then, like, nature starts coming back to life. People start talking again, like getting conversational and everything. And I'm just looking around. I'm like, did no one else feel that? Like the energy, the weight of it all? And it was truly magical. But at the same time, it was scary because as soon as the eclipse was over, I felt completely drained of energy. I felt like I was at 0%. And I am not joking about this. Like, as soon as I got home, I knocked out. And I experienced something. And it was really weird. And I still remember it. And I'm gonna just talk about it a little bit. Now, when I came back home knocked out, every time woke up, I woke up because I felt something touching my elbow. And I know that's like a really weird area because I've never felt something like that before, but I just remember feeling like bone touching my elbow, and I just wake up from like a jolt basically. And the dream that I had like depicted in my brain was like bones getting split in half, and I have no idea still to this moment what those mean, what that means at all. Apparently, I looked it up. I mean, I don't know if this is true, but I looked it up, and it says that if you have like dreams about like bones breaking or anything, it means a big change is coming or new beginnings, hence what the eclipse means. So I just found that really weird, but it just kept getting jolts in bed, like I was getting electrically shocked when I was in bed. Like I was half awake, half asleep, and I just remember like jolting, suddenly jolts, like from left to right, moving around. And I eventually got up and I'm like, okay, this is freaky as hell. Like, what the hell is going on? And I started looking into some mythology about eclipses. I obviously know a little bit about it. I know there are various interpretations of how people in the pagan religion view it. There's actually it's like a separation between it. Like some cultures view them like as holding spiritual or mystical significance. They see them like as good moments for energy, power, and they say that the boundaries between the physical and spiritual worlds are believed to be thinner. And other people even use them for like rituals, meditation, spell work into transformation, renewal, or spiritual growth. And like that's kind of the way I viewed it personally. Um, I just use it as a moment for transformation, new beginnings, good energy. But in other traditions, eclipses are viewed as times of caution or even fear. There's even some cultures that have myths or folklore associated that like portray them as omens of disaster, upheaval, basically celestial beings and entities that are bad that basically surround this eclipse. So I ended up looking a little bit more into it. And of course, what I ended up running into was traditions that they do in Salem during this time. And they do this ritual or a chant that basically puts bad energy, bad omens away from them, and they start chanting them through the streets of Salem, especially like around where the witch trials happened, where the witch house is, where the memorials are. They start saying chants because, like I've said, during eclipses, a lot of them believe that the physical and spiritual world are much thinner, so they don't want any bad entities to enter into their area during this time. A lot of them engage in taboos and practices where they make loud noises to scare away malevolent spirits believed to be associated with eclipses. But something I kept coming back to is the fact that they see them as such powerful opportunities, even more powerful than Halloween time when people end up going to Salem. But they say it's possibly the most powerful thing to witness a total solar eclipse, especially being the power and energy it holds for everyone. I mean, especially witches, because they're all about cosmic energy, inner growth, transformation, new beginnings, changes, all this kind of stuff. So it's interesting to learn more about that aspect and see and learn how witches perceive this, as well as so many other cultures, like even in Egyptian times. People back then believed that eclipses were interpreted as symbolic of the sun god Ra, and he was like a central figure, and the sun itself was considered a divine entity associated with life, light, and renewal. So these eclipses were symbolic of Ra's journey through the underworld or his battles with darkness or chaos, being that it gets so pitch black outside. And they also often view them as displeasure from the gods back then as well, seen as omens of warnings of impending calamity, prompting rituals or offerings to appease the gods and avert disaster. So, something I really got from it is that people were a lot more freaked out by it back then, that they would engage in cultural practices just as witches do right now. So, just seeing that comparison between the Egyptian times, like when there was pharaohs, compared to witches now, how they view them and how there's like separate um, inspirations behind it and how they view them, so perceptions as well. It just taught me that there's so many other religions out there that view eclipses differently. Like, I will say for Islam, the way that I view it is basically a sign that the Day of Judgment is getting closer and closer, and we just see the power that Allah, which is God, Allah is God, God is Allah, the same thing. That He just has so much power, and as I've said, there's so much accountability that we're gonna have to take for our punishments and our bad deeds that we've done in this world. So we really approach eclipses with prayer and reflection, and we also look at it as a time for spiritual growth. So that's just another connection, spiritual growth. Like, I think that connects with the Egyptians and the witches as well. So there's just so much comparisons, and it's just really interesting to learn about all these different things, and it just gets me all excited and joyful, as you guys can tell, hopefully. But I just have to keep in mind that we really are so blessed, and if you guys have listened to this or listened to this episode right now and witnessed the eclipse, I want you guys to realize how blessed you are, because the next one isn't until 2044, and that's in the US. Now, if you're willing to travel, there is one in 2026 that you guys can travel for, but it's going to be overseas. And then there's also going to be one in 2090 that they like talk about a lot, and I believe that one's going to run through Michigan again, but who knows if we'll be alive by then. I mean, only God knows, but I'm hoping we will. I'm hoping I will. I would love to be in my 90s viewing an eclipse again. That would actually be pretty awesome. That's definitely on my bucket list, hence why I'm gonna live forever. Eternal life. But we'll see. So just realize how blessed you guys are, because eclipses are really good for just showing us how amazing the world is, how amazing cosmology is, astrology is, astronomy, all these different aspects. And it's something I've always been interested in for as long as I can remember. Like, I remember being young and having books on like the weather patterns and about stars and um, just everything about space. So I love these, I don't know, events, eclipses. They're just really interesting to me. I love them so much. And I'm happy I got to witness the one that just happened. It felt very rejuvenating. It felt like a breath of fresh air, and it was also terrifying at the same time because of all the things that happened afterwards. But we'll see what happens in the next eclipse. Obviously, there's lunar eclipses too that we can look forward to. There is, I believe, 2 more eclipses happening this year. There's also an annular solar eclipse happening, but it's not going to be in the United States, which is kind of unfortunate. We have now officially reached the end of episode 35 of the Horror Headquarters Nightwings. I'm sorry, I know I want to keep talking. I'm hoping you guys enjoyed this episode. If you guys are new here, please consider hitting that follow button on whatever platform you guys are listening on, and rating us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It really does help. And if you guys rate us, please send me a screenshot, post it on your story on Instagram, and tag the Horror Headquarters, and you will get featured on next week's episode. So please rate us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Make sure to follow us on all our platforms, including Instagram, which I've just stated is at the Horror Headquarters, TikTok at the Horror Headquarters as well, X or Twitter. Sorry, because X is the funniest name ever. At the Horror HQ. We're also on Facebook. If you search up the Horror Headquarters, you'll find a page dedicated to this podcast. And also, don't forget, we are on YouTube now, being that Google Podcast has been discontinued, unfortunately. So please make sure to follow us over there. I am still working on the t-shirts. I know they're taking forever, and I know I keep bringing them up and mentioning them. You guys are like, oh my god, I'm not even interested anymore. I hope you guys still are interested, because I love mine, the one I wear every day. I'm also trying to figure out EO box things and like how to ship things without putting my actual address on them, because I don't need stalkers showing up at my house. So we'll see how that all goes. I'm still doing the research on that. I'm pretty sure after college is over, I'll be able to focus on that a lot more. Yeah, speaking of college, I'm almost done, thank God. This eclipse is literally gonna get me through this next month, but we'll see what happens. Praying for the best, and I'm gonna graduate, and I can't wait. But I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I loved making it. I loved talking about eclipses, about the energy that it holds. So just make sure to really think about how important these eclipses are and showing us how delicate and beautiful that the universe can be and how it can give us different gifts. And if you're into horror, I really hope that you guys like astronomy too, because I haven't met, at least as of now, a horror fan that doesn't like things space related. Now I'm not talking about aliens because I fucking hate aliens like so much. I just don't understand them. I don't find them creepy at all. I just find them annoying. I don't know. That's just me though. Who knows? Maybe I'll come to like them one day. But as of now, I don't. The only movie I'll will like sit through is E.T. That's it. But yeah, I hope you guys get everything you manifest for, that your soul is calling for, and I hope you guys continue watching horror films and enjoying everything that comes with it. There's so many good ones in the theaters right now, and I have to go check them out and give you guys a rating on them. Just yeah, that's it. Sorry, I'm like so tired. It's the last day of Ramadan. Tomorrow's Eid. Eid Mubarak to all the Muslim listeners out there, or anyone that celebrates Eid Mubarak. I love you guys all so much. Thank you so much for the support on this podcast as well. I'm just so blessed. I want to give a special shout out to Elise. I love you, bestie. Thank you so much for all the support. I really appreciate you. Um, Also, before I go, I'm just gonna say Eclipses remind me a lot of Twitches, which is my favorite movie. But more on that later. Leaving you guys in a cliffhanger. But until next time, tread very lightly and pray for forgiveness. The next eclipse is approaching.